Hello, hello. Here we are again, coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha with the Paranormal World Show. And, this is the show for the thinking global citizen that dares to step out of the box and have a sniff at what's out there, because there's so much that is being kept from us, and we're finding more and more. And we are coming to you from 44 different platforms, and we're also on the Uh, there's so many different platforms to mention. I just wondering maybe, let's say the Conscious Awakening Network, the Conscious Awakening Network.org. We're also on there. And go visit them because they got close to 50 different shows over there that covers a lot of the stuff that we love to hear about. And if you want to get in touch with myself and also Nori, you can go to broadcastteamalpha.com and send us a message from the website, and we will see it and then we'll get back to you. We are again here going to talk with Bill Mee. He is the local snoop. He's finding stuff that a lot of us or most of us never hear about. So we're going to talk about a little bit about what is being kept from us, maybe a little bit about the science that is being kept from us, and where we are going from here. So welcome to the show, Bill.
Sure.
Oops. Did you freeze? No.
Am I
Oh,
got me
there.
there? Okay, good.
Yep. There you are. Well,
I think
gosh, where do you want to start?
we can start anywhere. I think these are exciting days that we're in right now. We're in a kind of a technological explosion with just new stuff coming out all the time. I'm really excited to see all these technologies coming out, but at the same time, we have to kind of be careful that we don't become slaves to the technology. That's something that the theologians they have technologies that are pretty advanced, but at the same time, they're not dependent on them. And I think that's something that we need to be careful about is that we don't become dependent on our technologies and we get back in touch with nature. The one thing the dark ones like to do is they like to create technology that's harmful to us and then make us dependent on it.
Hmm.
Like our cell phones. Your cell phones, most people can't do without their cell phones, but yet they're really not very healthy and that they put out that, bad energies for your brain. But yet people are dependent on their cell phone these days. And I'm hearing that the galactics are going to be introducing a lot of replacement technologies that are going to take our harmful technologies and they're going to replace it with something that can do the equivalent, but not be. It's not going to be harmful to our bodies. It's actually going to be healthy for our bodies. Like they have some kind of a cell phone that they can provide us that is actually going to put out beneficial energies that are going to help our body heal while we're using them, and they won't cost anything.
Yeah,
So, and you'll be able to talk to somebody on the other side of the world for free, and you're actually healing your body while you're using it. So that's the kind of technologies we're going to be moving to when we
yeah.
have after first contact.
And I just read the other day that Elon Musk now he has, working out that brain chip, and he
Yeah.
said they did enough testing now. The one subject that they're working with, he can move the mouse on his computer by the way he thinks.
Okay.
So
That's the
that's the
Neuralink, right?
first
The
step,
Neuralink.
the Neuralink, yeah. And also I think it was the CEO of the telephone division of Motorola. He made the comment in a speech, well over a year ago now. I heard that. And he said by 2030, he says, nobody will be carrying around a telephone because the telephone will be here. You just
Mm.
think of a person and you say the phrase, and then you are connecting to the other person because because of what people did, that we can't talk about, and the substance that is in it that we can't talk about. It is all throughout your body, and it is a computerized system now. So the human mind is hackable, and it can be hacked by us or anybody else. So we can think messages back and forth. And this is coming according to Motorola.
Wow, that's great.
I guess
You
I'll be left out.
know, well, maybe not. One of the advances, advancement technologies that I think is amazing is they have these new portable quantum computer laptops. Now in Japan, they're selling for $8,700, which is a little more than most people can afford, but still it's a quantum computer. So they're getting the size of them down smaller and smaller and becoming more affordable.
Oh,
So I'm hearing that we're going to be they're going to get cheaper, and we're going to eventually have quantum laptops. So to me, that requires a whole new software, because the software for quantum computing is quite a bit different than just what we have for classical computing. So that's going to be another revolution there as well.
yeah. I'm looking forward to some of this. The quantum computer you talked about, that would be fun.
Yeah, it'll be able to do things that you just can't do on a regular computer. So, and solve problems that would take too long to solve on a classical computer. So, I think that's going to revolutionize our whole society if those things become more, prevalent, because they'll help us create even more things, more technologies and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. What other technologies do you see? We know what we have. We're using a gasoline engine, the same kind of system as we did 140 years ago.
Hmm.
Benz invented the thing in 1986 or something. So why, why? Yeah, we know why, but what do we see next for automobiles and airplanes? What do you think?
I think there's two directions when it comes to automobiles. One is going to be this water cars where you split the water between the hydrogen and the oxygen. That way they don't emit anything harmful except oxygen, and so that's beneficial. And then they use the hydrogen out of the water to power the engine. So that's the technology I think is definitely doable. And there have been inventors that have gone down that road. They're no longer with us, but I believe that technology is going to emerge um, very soon. And I hear some companies are already working on engines that will operate on water instead of gasoline by splitting the water. The other technology, of course, is the electric car, but the electric car, the problem is the batteries wear out, and you have to replace those batteries about every 10 years. It's very expensive. It can cost you another $30,000 just to replace it. Now there is a new battery there I hear they're working on that's called a lithium metal battery, and it's supposed to last about twice as long, and you make your car go further, but it's not quite there yet. And to me, it seems, oh, it's probably doable down the road, but I think it's inferior to the water car, because the
Yeah.
water car to me is, well, that didn't cost anything, and you're not really harming the environment. These batteries, you have to mine the various lithium ores and cobalt and all these different things that to make the battery, and it really harms the environment. I think we're going to get away from all technologies that harm the environment. That's going to
Yeah.
come when we start to recognize that our planet, Gaia, is a living sentient being. And when that finally gets into the mass consciousness, where everybody starts to realize that we live on a sentient planet that has, her own free will and mind, emotions, and that's going to mean that, okay, then we're going to realize how much we've abused her in the past. And I think we're going to get busy cleaning up our environment and start using technologies that don't harm the environment. And so that's more of a consciousness shift that'll happen down the road. But it's going to play a big role, I think, in our technology development because your technology development is kind of based on your consciousness. And if you have a low consciousness, you don't care about the environment or anything.
Yeah.
But a higher consciousness, you're going to start respecting the environment and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I was speaking of cars too. I hear from Sweden that, I bet there's somebody out there listening to this that at one time in their life had a Saab automobile. And we know Saab went out of business. And everybody wondered why. Well, there's another reason too. It became an electronic nightmare. I had one, I know. But the real reason they went out of business is because they were just about to put out a permanent magnet motor. In
Mm,
other words, they were magnets that was positioned in such a way that the two wheels ran continuously forever. And they
okay.
were hooked onto the shaft, going through a transmission, and was used as a motor in the car. It was
So,
it was very simple. I know the design on because I had one 25 years ago that I drew out and wanted to do. So this works.
yeah,
But
that's a good
Saab was put
technology.
out of business because they wanted to create a car that needed no fuel and would run forever until it broke, of course.
Hmm. So there you go. That's another technology that doesn't require gasoline.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I hear that there's over 6,000 patents of different technologies that are going to be released very soon, and these are going to probably cover so many different areas that I think it's just going to create a renaissance on the planet when they start releasing these technologies. The main thing about a lot of these technologies, some of them are free energy technologies, and those technologies, I believe, have to be, well, they can't really be, you need the society itself has to be at a high vibration, and they have to be at a vibration to where they can allow the technologies to come out without wanting to try to capitalize on it and make money on it. That's the problem that a lot of these inventors have had is they spend time coming up with an invention, but then they want to patent it and then they want to try to maintain control of it and market it and become rich on it. And that doesn't work with free energy. Free energy has to be released so that it benefits everybody without people making money on it. And until our consciousness gets to that level to where we don't care about trying to make money on something, then I think we're going to be going along much further in our advancement and development. Got to get rid of that ego of wanting to control everything and just create stuff for the benefit of mankind. And I hope that's where we're headed. It looks like we're finally moving in that direction.
Yeah.
So I think that'll help a lot when these technologies get released, these 6,000 patents, because there'll be companies that'll just want to develop it for the benefit of humanity, and they'll find a way to secure the funds to get it developed without trying to just capitalize on trying to make money from it, but just trying to get it out there. That's the thing is getting it out there, and it does require funds usually to get it out there. But I believe that those funds are coming as we transition to the new quantum financial system. And that's going to release all kinds of funds to help create different technologies that are going to be done to benefit mankind and not just created so that you're a company trying to make money.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. That's going to be nice. And there is a lot of new patents coming out because I'm a patent holder and our numbers is in 6 million and something.
Okay.
Now the patent bureau is putting out patents at 10 million. So there's 4 million in the last 30 years. 4
Mm,
million worth of patent. And, I poke around on the patent bureau once in a while, and I see there are incredible inventions. You see them there, but after a while, they're classified.
mm. Yeah, they usually prevent it from coming out. They usually use the term national security as the reason.
Yeah, yeah, that is almost criminal because some of these things that has nothing to do with national security. It's just something that will benefit people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's they use that on all the anti-gravity, all the free energy always gets shut down, and they say it's a national security issue.
Mhm.
But those days I think, are about over. They can't stop it. There's just going to be a flood of technologies, and pretty soon they're not going to be able to stop it using that method. Anyway, I think the biggest technologies, we're seeing a lot of, technologies in the health arena, but, of course, the med beds are going to be released here pretty soon. And there's three different kinds of med beds that we have, or that are going to be made available. I'm not sure if they're all going to be made available at the same time, but there's a holographic med bed, and that's the med bed that can cure just about any kind of disease that you might have using lasers and AI and various other high technology. And then there's the regeneration med beds. Those can actually regenerate organs. And then, of course, we're going to have the other one, I think, is the regression med beds. Now, I've heard there's one called the reanimizing med beds. They can create an entire body, but I don't think those are going to be made available right away. But the regression med beds, they are used for anti-aging. So you can regress yourself back to, say, 20 years, 30 years, and go back to a child or a teenager. I don't think they won't let that happen. But if you do want to regress back to, say, in your 30s, uh, say around 30 years old, then you could do that with these regression med beds, but they do require counseling. So you'll have to, because you can't reverse it back. Once you go that way, you can't go back the other way. So, and of course, you got to consider about the people, your loved ones, your family, friends that you'll be associated with, because you are going to start looking younger and you won't be looking the same as you did before. So,
Yeah, there's going to be some questions.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you won't be able to keep it secret.
Yeah,
So yeah, but those are coming eventually. But I think it's going to be the holographic med beds first, and then maybe the regeneration med beds. I know they have those on the ship and on the UFO ships, and those will be used to regenerate. I think like missing limbs, people that have lost an arm or a leg in a wartime. In fact, I think they're going to be treated first, and then I hear the younger generation with diseases, and then finally the older generation will be treated.
yeah,
So, and if Elena Donan is correct, she said that through the Galactics, they took her on board one of their craft and took her to the moon and showed her where they're manufacturing these med beds. And they're manufacturing them in a base underneath the surface on the moon, and they're actually delivering them now in various places all over the earth. So I'm hearing they're getting delivered, and I don't think you'll see them in hospitals. They're being placed in other facilities that you may not even think would be a healing place, but they are going to be made available. And one thing you'll know that if it's a true med bed, it will not cost you anything. If they're charging you anything for a med bed, then it's not a true med bed, because they will not be costing anybody anything. And they are controlled by the military. So if it's not a military type of thing,
yeah.
then it's probably not a true med bed.
Yeah, and there are some of the different technologies that is built into the medbeds are available right now.
Yeah, yeah,
There
that's
are
true.
bits and pieces that you find. You have the Rife technology that started back in the 1930s. He
Hmm.
cured everybody that came to him with cancer. He
Yeah,
cured them. And now we have the Itera is out. That is kind of in that group.
yeah,
And there are other things, but they're separate. If you put all of those together, you may end up with something that can be really exciting.
yeah. The one Rife technology that I uh, have seen that works really good is the Spooky 2.
Uh,
And what's nice about the Spooky 2 is it is a Rife machine, and it does have a database when you get it with all the frequencies of just about everything you can think of that might could be wrong with you. And it will, you can use it by holding on to these two. Uh, there are two little handles that you can hold on to with a cord that goes to it, or they you can also hook it up to like the various plasma um, tubes that put out a
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's what Rife was using was the various tubes that put out energy. You can hook it up to that, but I think what the most innovative part is that you can clip a fingernail or a piece of your skin or what have you, and you can put it in this little chamber, and it is using uh, quantum entanglement. So you don't have to be there. You can be anywhere in the world. And it's hitting that a DNA part
Yeah.
of you that you gave it a sample of, whether it be a fingernail or what have you. And or you can even use your saliva, I think. And
Mm.
it will hit you with that with whatever frequencies you need. And you could be on the other side of the world and you're still getting treated.
Yeah.
So
Because
that's really cool.
yeah, because of quantum entanglement, there is no distance.
Hmm. That's
Uh,
right.
yeah. And I think also that most of us has watched Star Trek, and you see Jean-Luc Picard walking up to this little microwave-looking thing on the wall, and
Yeah.
he looks at it and he talks to it, and he says, "Tea, Earl Grey, hot." And
Hmm.
bingo, there the cup of hot tea shows up in there. The tea, the plate is sitting on, and the tea. Now, the replicators. I know
Yeah, the
this
replicators.
sounds ridiculous, but there is something to this technology because I saw a paper written on it. Yes, we can do this now. With
Yeah.
quantum computers, we're able to pull all of the molecular structure into computer language, and we can actually do this.
Yeah. It's just assembling molecules. That's what
Yeah,
it's really doing. And yeah, I hear that technology that we see on Star Trek was actually offered to us back in the 60s, and it was declined because there was another group that did not want it. And so we didn't get that technology, but it's been available. I think it's part of the secret space program ever since the 60s.
yeah,
Same with the med beds. They just, they have them for the secret space program, but they haven't been available to us on the planet yet. But yeah, the replicators are going to be one of the first technologies I hear the Galactics are going to share with us when they, after first contact, official first contact. I mean, we've had many contacts already with
yeah,
individuals, but once they land their craft and they're recognized and they'll be helping us out, and the med beds will be, of course, already in positions, but there'll be some on their craft as well. So those some of the ones that they may not release to the public yet will be on the UFO craft, and those that have special need, like maybe missing limbs or something, they can go on board and they'll get healed with the med beds on the UFO craft. But they also have the replicators that they'll be sharing with us. And I hear the ones they're going to share with us first are the food replicators and the clothes replicators. And they're going to probably go to the countries that are most need, like the ones that are where there's a lot of famine. They'll probably get them first, and then but the food that I hear it's the food and the clothes replicators. They're going to test us first with those to see how we do, how we handle that technology. And if we're good stewards and we don't abuse things, then they will give us replicators that can do more stuff. I think they have replicators that can replicate just about anything, even a car if they wanted to. Might have to be a huge replicator, but they can do it. I think they have that tech. I know I heard the other day that some of the galactics they have these uh, their ships need repaired, so they have these other ships that are just simply repair ships, and they go around the various galactic places to service some of these other UFO ships. So they hook up to them, and they have on board replicators to help replicate the worn out parts for that UFO that they need to fix or whatever. So these ships are equipped with all the supplies, equipment, and tools and replicators that they need to repair other UFOs that eventually wear down or have
Yeah.
parts that wear out at some point.
Hmm.
But I mean, I'm sure their parts probably last for a long time, but every now and then they might have to replace something, and so they have replicators for that as well. So there
Well,
you go.
they have ships that is made out of nuts and bolts too, because everything made from those two things, it fails once in a while. We see that from all the
Right,
crashed UFOs.
right.
So yeah, they're not perfect. But let me ask, let me just run something by you. On my on my computer, Broadcast Team Alpha has a picture of Saturn and the rings. Right outside, at the very edge of the rings, there is a 3,000-mile long cigar shaped ship sitting totally visible in the infrared specter.
Okay.
There were two pictures taken. There were one where it shows up, and then one later where there were nothing in that position. So evidently it was moving. It wasn't
Okay.
stationary like a rock would.
Right.
You don't you don't go to work and build a 3,000-mile long cigar shaped ship. And I have a friend, I call him an interdimensional friend. I asked him, how do you make ships like that? And he said, it is simple. We do it by mind.
Yeah.
They think it into existence. And there are even some of them that specializes in doing some of these things. They think it into existence outside of the physical first, and then they lower the vibration around it, so it becomes physical, and we can actually see it.
Hmm. That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so now that's this replicator.
Right, right, right. That's a consciousness replicator.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
Yeah,
I,
that's something probably when we, after this planet ascends into the higher vibrations, that's something we might be trained on to be able to, I'm sure we will be trained eventually to be able to do that ourselves.
yeah, but I don't think we, with our mind structure, I don't think that's all that possible. We
Yeah.
on the mastermind connection, we've done some amazing things, created things out
Hmm.
of seemingly nothing. So I know in our limited way, we can do this too.
Yeah. Well, we are originally created with 12 strands of DNA, and we are getting hooked back up to those dormant strands with these energies that are coming in. So those other strands, I think, are part of the equation. They're going to help us to manifest things faster and easier. Not to mention our bodies are changing from a carbon based to silicon based. So really, we're going through a transformative, uh, change ourselves on our just our bodies and our minds, and everything is changing. So um, I think, yeah, we have an exciting future to look forward to. I just really can't wait to see all these changes that are going to start
Yeah.
taking place. We have a few dark ones we have to get out of the way, and I think that it's getting thinned down pretty good right now. And I think there's just we're getting very close. We're very close to something big happening. They might try one last thing, these remnants, but I think the consciousness is so high right now that they're not really going to get anywhere. They might do one last attempt, and I think when they try this, some people are calling it a black swan event.
Yeah.
Uh, if they don't try it, I think that's going to trigger the white hats to finally trigger the EBS, and we'll get our global announcements that we're waiting on. And they're going to usher in all the changes. That'll include the new financial system. They'll start releasing the new technologies. Um, just so much transformation is going to happen. I think they're going to just what's going to happen is that we're going to be so overwhelmed with so much change and so much technology that it can't be held back.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 12 strand DNA.
Yeah,
And when a nuts and bolt person look at that and said, I see the structure of the DNA and the twisted ropes of life, as the Anunnaki called it. And there is no chance that could be 12 strands. Well, how do we know what is in the bioelectromagnetic field around that strand? All we
mhm,
see is the physical part of it, with a whole bunch of fingers and stuff sitting there. It's called junk DNA.
yeah,
I believe it was UCLA that did some research on so called indigo children, and they found that the junk DNA started to assemble itself into a third strand.
hmm yeah. I
So
heard about
if
that.
yeah, if it works in the small ways like that, how far do we know that it could develop? We have
Hmm
no idea. That there
Right.
is an enormous amount of junk DNA that was disconnected by the Anunnaki.
Yeah, that's true. A better term I like to use is higher dimension or hyperdimensional DNA, because that's really what it is. It's DNA that actually is in the higher dimensions of like fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and so forth. So we're left with this two-strand DNA that gets us by in 3D. But once you start hooking up that hyperdimensional DNA, there's no telling what we're going to be able to
Yeah.
create.
I don't think it's done yet, but sooner or later, somebody is going to take a microscope and they are going to put a Carillion photography equipment looking through the microscope. So
Yeah,
you're going to see the bioelectromagnetic field or the aura around the strands, and you're going to see all kinds of other strands sitting there outside of the physical, ready to be built.
right. That's going to be another exciting time, because when those strands start connecting up, that's when people start connecting with uh, their higher abilities, where you're going to start seeing people have clairvoyance,
Yeah.
clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance. And those are just going to be a natural part of our daily life.
Mhm.
Right now, those are kind of not really there yet, but they're coming. And I think we all have those abilities. They just have to be developed. And that connecting up those hyperdimensional DNA strands is part of the equation.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what it's going to be like when everybody has this. This is where I think when we get into the higher dimensions as a planet, I believe that's when we're going to start developing this ability to have telepathy. Telepathy is something that all the galactics use right now. They don't communicate the way we typically do because it's too slow and archaic. Because when you communicate with telepathy, you not only get the words of the message, but you get the feeling that goes with that from the other person. So you understand more. In other words, more information gets communicated via telepathy than just using
Yeah,
words. So that's our future. And we might have to get trained a little bit on that, but we have the DNA is there to do it. And once we get connected up to those higher dimensional strands, that's going to be part of our society as well. So, once we develop telepathy, you can't lie anymore because the other person will know your intentions behind whatever you're saying, and they'll know whether you're lying or not. So, just think of
that
what our society will be like with no more lies.
that that will make havoc in Washington, wouldn't it?
Yes, that would.
Oh
I think
God.
they're going to have to just start all over again.
Yeah, they need to go home. Um, when you talk about a cashless society where money is no longer needed,
Hmm.
I've often thought about how would that actually work? Well, I don't think it's on our doorstep right now because even with Nasara, there's going to be money involved afterwards, rewards for efforts,
Hmm.
and credibility for new inventions. And they'll still be there, but
Yeah,
only it will be safe. Nobody's going to be able to steal it from you.
right.
I think the next step is probably coming with what you just said, telepathy,
Hmm.
because once you have that, everything changes. There are
Right.
no secrets.
Yeah, no secrets. Another thing about that I think is really important is that everybody on this planet has kind of grown up with this mindset of there's just not enough to go around.
Yeah,
It's this lack mindset. And really and that's the dark ones that have projected that on us. And they do that with their wars. One country's got to have something that another country has, and it's this mindset that there's just not enough to go around for everybody. But that's really not true because this universe is just totally abundant. There is no lack. And so with an abundant universe, there is no need for money. But the problem is the consciousness of mankind. You have to get over that lack consciousness. So I think what they're going to do when Nassar comes on the scene and they we come up and they release the new quantum financial system and all the changes, like you said, we'll have money and it will be totally protected because it's going to be in the quantum system. You can't hack it, from what I understand, and it's going to be totally secure. And it does it the way it's kind of the first step because what it does is it kind of eliminates the banks. Because with the new quantum system, you become your own bank. You don't
yeah,
need to have a brick and mortar building, that you have to go to. You just need a device that you can just access your quantum computer network, and then you just log in and you're your own bank, and your bank goes wherever you go. So it really is. That's kind of the first step is getting rid of banks. So this is a decentralized system that is totally secure and eliminates the banks. Now, once you get that going, then the next step is to start releasing prosperity, and you release it in many different ways. They're going to be releasing it, I hear, for people to do humanitarian projects, but they're also going to be increasing the amount of money that you get um, every month under Nassar. There's going to be a monthly basic income allowance that's going to go out. Plus, if you're over 65, people that are getting Social Security, that's going to be probably doubled or more. So,
yeah.
what's going to happen is prosperity is going to start getting out there more and more and more to the point to where it starts to change the consciousness to where people realize there is no such thing as lack. There's abundance everywhere. And then once you get that consciousness changed from a from a lack consciousness to an abundance of abundant consciousness, and you realize there is no such thing as lack, then you've got the mass consciousness working together to finally where you can do away with money altogether because you won't need it. So it's just going to be bringing in the mechanisms to where uh, you're able to, the free energy technologies and all the other technologies are also going to be assisting us at the same time. Because once you release free energy and you release, say water cars, and you release things like replicators that can produce your food and your clothes, well, what do you really need money for? I mean, most of those technologies are going to provide all of your needs. So once you get that abundant consciousness mindset kind of all permeated around the planet for everybody, and you release these technologies at the same time to replace the need for money, then you can finally do away with money altogether. And that's where we're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. And a society where no money is needed, it is really hard to wrap your head around how that could work. Because I, you know, I got 7 rooms in this house and I like to have a little bigger place. Would there be room for within that system where there's no money, you get what you need, but would we also get what we want? Because maybe I want a bigger house than the guy that lived next door. Maybe I want just a little more nicer transportation than the guy next door. Will there still be room for that, do you think?
Well, sort of. I mean, part of that is ego, okay? And that is going to be I would say tampered down as we move into the
Yeah.
higher vibrations. Our ego is going to go down and down. So I think kind of as a natural process of moving into the higher vibrations, the wants that you talked about are just going to kind of fade away. They're just not going to
Yeah.
really be there because what's going to happen is you're going to have more of a service to others mindset, and
Hmm.
more of a, instead of trying to have more than, trying to outdo the Joneses, you're just going to be kind of comfortable with whatever you need to get by, you know. But yeah, there
Yeah.
might be a little bit. I think we'll be allowed to experience some of that of what we want. I don't think I don't think it's gonna be allowed to get out of hand though, get out of control.
Yeah. So no more super yachts and
Yeah, right.
private Boeing 747s.
And a lot of that, like that, even the elite, it's one elite trying to outdo another elite. There again, there's your ego. This guy's saying, "Well, he's got a yacht. I got to have one bigger than his now." So then he goes and tries to create a bigger yacht.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are probably some countries that will be lagging in that arena, especially the Americans and maybe the Arabs. They like
Yeah,
their stuff,
yeah,
and the Chinese, they like their stuff. But there are other countries that will probably be easier converted, like maybe the Danish. They government can't do anything wrong in Denmark. So they are easily manipulated into believing absolutely anything. And if that is the agenda for stay away from what you want, but you will have what you need, which really is a good thing. But
hmm,
the mentality of people receiving it need to be conditioned by themselves
yeah,
because that way they can really find out what they need.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think though there's going to be so many changes, especially with our tax system. That always keeps people in poverty or taxes. When you just keep taxing, taxing, taxing. And under Nassar, everything goes to a 14% consumption tax. And it does away with all these like property taxes and income taxes and all these other taxes. So that's going to free up a lot of funds, I think, for people to be able to have more and do more. And that in itself, I think, is going to kind of just being able to have more than what you have right now is going to be a big benefit for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in the federal statute, it said that there should be no double taxation. Now we have
Hmm.
quadruple, or should I say eight duple taxation. You have tax on the tax that they put on the tax. They tax the original tax.
It's crazy. It's like the phone bill. You see a whole list of these different things that are fees and
Yeah.
everything, but it's all just taxes,
Yeah.
of some form, a fee or a tax of some kind that's just tacked onto another fee or
Yeah.
tax or whatever.
Yeah. But there is always a cost with infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it has to be created from something that has a cost to it. So even with a society where there is no money, the hardware, the metal, or the parts and structure that goes into building an infrastructure has some energy involved in it. It has to come from somewhere, and somewhere along the line there could be a cost to that, which could involve more than just labor. It could actually involve, here we go, money.
Hmm. Yeah.
That is the hard one for me to understand. How can we create, with the replicators, you can create smaller things, but what
Hmm.
about a bus? That's,
Yeah.
I think,
I think the Galactics are going to test us out and see how responsible we are on the food and clothes replicators. And if they see that we're doing good and we're not abusing the technology, they might give us a bigger, they might allow it to be
yeah,
used for certain companies. Like a company could maybe replicate a car or replicate a bus or something, and
yeah,
start that way, and then eventually get it out to more companies as they see us being responsible for the technology. As long
mhm,
as we don't abuse it, I think they'll keep upping the ante for what we can have. So I think the biggest, there's like 4 or 5 major technologies that they'll be sharing that I think are going to just revolutionize the planet, and that's the replicators, the med beds, the one of them is going to be the free energy uh, type of devices and so forth, and machines and engines, anything free energy related. And then there's also going to be eventually they're going to be sharing teleportation, and you'll just go into a booth and it will transport you to the other side of the world if that's where you want to go in, say, seconds.
yeah,
Teleportation. Now it's probably using something similar. It's taking your body and probably breaking it down and then sending it someplace and reconstructing it back again.
yeah. Yeah, even that sounds kind of ridiculous. But remember what the head of the skunk works, the Lockheed Skunk Works, said in 1978. He said, "If you have seen it on Star Trek, we already know how to do it."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there was the guy, what's his name, Basagio,
Yeah,
Andy Basagio, I think it is. He talked about being involved in teleportation experiments back in the 70s.
yeah. Project
So they,
Pegasus.
yeah, Pegasus, and they were using, I think, Tesla technology that they had, back in tried to figure it out after they stole his technology after he died, and they were using that. They're in based on his engineering or technology that he had. They took it to the next level to where they were testing out teleportation, and apparently they were. Andrew said they were successful. There were some, mistakes where people teleported like their body was in a fluid or like a pond, and so the part that was in the water did not transfer correctly, and the person died. He said because it did that part of the body didn't get connected up right with the rest of it. So they learned a lot of they made a lot of mistakes, but they were successful from what I hear.
Mhm.
And then you may have heard of what's called the jump rooms. You talked about, I think, the jump rooms where you can go into a room and they can teleport you from here all the way to Mars.
Mhm.
And there were some people I've heard that said that they actually worked on Mars, and they would go to work by going into one of these jump rooms and being teleported to Mars.
Yeah, that's amazing. Then I also saw a video on YouTube that was several years ago. They were in China, and I've been looking for the video again, and well, I haven't found it anymore. But they were little children. They looked like maybe 3 or 4 year old children. They were sitting around, and they had a table. They had two jars, and they had a bug in one.
Hmm,
And then they were sitting there, and they told the children, now imagine this bug not being in this jar, but being in this jar.
hmm,
And the children sat there and looked at it, and by golly, the bug moved to the other jar.
hmm.
Folks, look for that video. It still might be on there. I just don't remember the title for it, but I saw it on YouTube. It was, well, probably 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
So there's a
So the
teleportation.
mind can do this also,
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
kids, they have not been brainwashed into thinking like, oh, there's certain things you can't do.
right, right. That's the problem. Our educational system dumbs people down and puts limitations on what they think we can do. So it keeps the mind kind of trapped. You take a kid that hadn't gone to school and he usually has all these great ideas.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, we've got exciting times I think we're headed toward. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're already seeing the beginning of it. And the solar flare that people say, oh, we're going to have a solar flare. Yeah, fine. Big deal. It's not going to hurt us as human
Right.
beings, because I know that, because back in 1858, I think we had the Carrington event,
Yeah.
where there was a solar flare so strong that it melted the telex wires and didn't hurt the people. The people didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to hurt us. It may do something to parts of the brain that upgrades us possibly, but
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
No, I think that's what it's going to do. It's going to upgrade us because it's going to activate those DNA strands we talked about earlier. And I think it's going to also uh, move us more toward a crystalline based body and instead of carbon based. So
Yeah.
we're moving there gradually, and I think the energies are ramping up more and more every month. They get to higher and higher, and that's because people don't realize it, but our sun and our planets, they're sentient and they communicate with each other telepathically. So our sun knows what our Gaia needs, and they communicate back and forth. And of course, we have the energy from the great central sun, which communicates with our sun. So everything communicates. That's the missing ingredient that our physicists don't have, is that our universe is conscious, and that's the missing equation. Is consciousness is the underlying fabric of our universe, and they don't plug that into the equation. So
Yeah.
that's why everything is always, they can't figure things out because they're missing the key, most important part. And of course, our math is wrong too. The universe works on base 12, and we're stuck in base 10. So that's got to change too. That's why some
Mhm.
of our mathematics is off, because we're working in base 10. And to get a true representation, you need to work in a base 12.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we're talking about upgrading to the so-called fifth dimension, and I'm not worried about that either.
No,
No,
that's when we're going to be set free, and that's when we're going to
yeah,
have all the wonderful changes.
and
Because
I think,
one thing about that is that as we shift into 5D, it actually there's my understanding that all the things like you can take all the energies and put them on a scale, and like the guy that wrote the book, uh, I think it was Hawking's on power versus force,
mhm,
and he took all the levels of consciousness and found a vibratory frequency range that each one falls in. And you can put love is really one of the highest vibrational,
yeah,
consciousness, emotions or feelings that you can have, and then fear is your lowest. So as we move into the higher vibrations of 5D, these lower vibrational aspects of our being diminish less and less because they can't manifest in the higher vibrations. So if you do let them manifest, then what happens is you shift out of that high vibration and you go down to a lower vibration. So if you want to maintain yourself into the higher vibration of 5D, you have to maintain these higher vibrational
yeah,
emotions and feelings and thoughts and so forth. So that kind of comes with it as being part of 5D, comes with the higher vibrational feelings, emotions, and thoughts that go with that to stay there. So that's going to also revolutionize things too as we move into that higher thinking, higher everything.
yeah. And that's hard to maintain higher vibrational thinking around negative people. So we may have to
Yeah,
leave some people behind.
that's right. Yeah, there's I hear there's a other duality planets that's equipped for that. And those people that are not ready to ascend to 5D or simply don't want to or just don't qualify because of their low vibration, they are going to be taken to these other duality planets. I hear they'll get uh, a new veil, it'll be like a memory wipe, so they won't remember any of their time on Earth, and then they'll just start life over there on that other planet and continue to learn lessons over there until they can ascend on that planet. So they have all of you have all of eternity to keep working your way back up to source. And
Hmm.
we started at 3D, we're going to 4D now. We're in 4D now, and then we're going to go to 5D, and then eventually we'll go to 6D, 7D till the ultimate goal is to go back to source where we came from, but we have all of eternity to do so. So, but the goal is to keep working your way back. I
Yeah,
hear I think it's after fifth, you really lose physicality from what I hear. There, you don't need a physical body, but you still have your consciousness. There's a lot of beings that communicate with us, but they don't have a physical body. It's
yeah,
just their consciousness.
yeah. Because consciousness is all there is.
Yeah,
We are only consciousness too, but it's a very persistent looking physical body.
right. Now, the benefit, though, of being in these lower vibrations and lower dimensions of 3D is that it advances our soul evolution so much faster because you're having to confront darkness, you're having to confront challenges and things that you just don't get in the higher realms.
Yeah,
And when you're in the higher realms and everything is just perfect and you don't have any problems or anything, your soul growth, it you may have some advancement in soul growth, but it's not quite as fast as when you're in challenging and confronting the opposite, which is darkness and all that fear and everything. When you have to confront that head on, then it really advances your soul growth so much faster. So
yeah,
that's one of the benefits. That's why we chose to come here in the first place, is to take on the challenge to advance our soul growth in a much faster way than we would get any other way. And this is supposed to
yeah,
be one of the darkest planets in the universe. So you don't come here unless you are unless you are really serious about advancing. And I hear not everybody qualifies. Some people they say that you had to ascend on another planet before you get chosen to come to Earth to ascend on this planet. You have to have already ascended someplace else.
Yeah.
Only the best of the best get to come here.
Well, that's assuring. There are times when we forget who we are, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah, we do. That's something to always remind yourself that you are pure love. You are a fractal of creator source, and keep that in mind at all times. But sometimes we get so stuck in the challenge that we're facing at that particular time, and we stay in that low vibration, and then that kind of cuts us off from finding a solution that we need in that current moment. If we maintain at a high vibration, you'll find solutions so much faster and so much easier than if you stay stuck in that fear state, stuck in that low vibration. It kind of cuts you off or blocks you from having any solutions to your problems.
Yeah. I remember another thing that I read in a book. It was a book written back in the 1930s called Think and Grow Rich.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
And I used to read that book once a year. I haven't done it for a little bit now, but it's a good one. In there, it says, you will become like the people you associate with.
Yeah.
So I have already started disassociating myself with really people that is, well, of lower vibration, I guess I should say,
Mhm.
or the people that is totally buried in the problems with politics and technology and say, oh, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Well, yeah, okay, let your world go, not mine. So I
Right.
started disassociating. I don't answer the text or just stay away. It only upset them for about 20 minutes until they got someone else to go and dump on. So that'll be
Right.
all right.
Well, that's kind of what's going on right now is that people are kind of gravitating to people that are more their vibration. So if you're at a high vibration, you're going to want to be moving toward people that are at that same vibration.
Yeah.
And if you're at a low vibration, you're going to be gravitating toward people that are that low vibration. So that's what's kind of going on right now is a sorting out of the people moving toward other people of like mind and like
Yes.
vibration.
Yeah. Whoops, I see we are just about out of time.
Okay.
Yeah, so that went fast. But let's do this again sometime when we find other subjects to talk about because this has been an interesting conversation.
Sure. Yeah, we can do it again.
Yeah. Okay, folks. Watch us next week. We are coming to Broadcast Team Alpha on Tuesday nights and Sunday nights, of course, here. You are watching this one, the Paranormal World Show. And if you like what you hear, just just become a member. There is more videos in there that the public do not see. Also, just subscribe and that'll help us out. And the super chat is open. So until later, until then, be good to each other.